we're wanting them to do for us, and I think we need to make sure that they come back with the pros and the cons of you know, we really want to have, this is what's going to happen if we do that, we need the pros and the cons. And I think we have to remember, and I think Councillor Walker and Councillor Filipaina may have touched on it as well, that Manukau Council and the Auckland Council, they didn't sell all their airport shares, and to be perfectly honest, if the money from Manukau Council in particular in Auckland hadn't, you know, if we'd sold the shares, we'd have spent the money and we would be in a far worse place. So the Auckland airport shares have actually really held us together. So I think, you know, that's something we have to really be mindful of. So, you know, it's all right to shake your head and everything like that, but the airport shares, if Manukau Council had actually sold their shares, we would have ended up spending it on a whole lot of frivolous things that we, and that's what would have probably happened in Manukau. It would have been spent and we'd be in a really, really worse place than we are today. So anyway, I just want to make sure that when the advisory people come back to us, that we have the pros and the cons. And I think it would be really interesting to since 2010, to find out how much dividend money has I can't remember exactly how much dividend money has actually come back to the Auckland region because of those shares that had been kept. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. And 4 very brief points just to conclude the substantive part of the discussion. There's nothing to be afraid of in this debate, actually. And I want to say that against the backdrop that for the 20 years that I've been sitting around tables like this, even though I held some very, very firm positions on a number of range of issues, I was always open for them to be challenged. Is there something new that I haven't picked up? Is there something that I'm not picking up from the community? Is there a bit more information that might have some impact on my view? So even though it was based on a reasonably strong, philosophically held position, I was always open for the debate. And to be fair, Madam Chair, this is the first time we've really debated these issues in 5 years because, as Councillor Cooper rightfully said, I haven't led that discussion to enable that to happen. And you asked me to allow that to happen in my role as the Mayor, and I'm comfortable that we are now having this discussion, and I'm looking forward to receiving the information that's going to come back from the officers and the advisors that will not only help us in our decision making, but also will advise the issue of our engagement with the government and will help our community to understand the significance of the challenges we face. The second point I want to make is that these challenges are primarily based on the fact that the city is succeeding. We're growing flat out. We've got an economy that's going gangbusters. Whichever way you look at our transport situation, we're gridlocked. We're going flat out in train patronage, flat out in bus patronage, flat out in car patronage. So we're growing and we are moving forward with some real pace. Feedback that we are getting from all of our council colleagues right around New Zealand in the last 3 or 4 days at the annual conference was that, one, you're actually being challenged by your success. And we understand the challenges and we want to support you. I want to tell you another side of the story in New Zealand that gives some sort of context to how difficult these discussions can be, whether you're big like a 1.5 million person city or small like 8,000 ratepayers. Westland's got 8,000 ratepayers. It's got a bunch of towns, and 3 of them are basically now need desperate replacement of their sewage systems.
That's right. Yep.
About $20 million worth. Their entire rating base is $30 million. And they've got to replace them. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? They've got to shut those towns down.
That's right.
And look, we've seen that. We've had towns under real desperate situation. Helensville and Clevedon are 2 of them. But these guys They're going to seriously go to government with cap in hand to say, look, we can raise this much from rates, we can raise this much from borrowing, we can only get that much from a PPP. There's a 50% shortfall. Right? So, Councillor Wayne, we all have the same challenges. The rating system, as it presently stands, does not deliver us the outcomes that we need for a sustainable city going forward. So, in those circumstances, you've got to look at everything and be prepared to actually be open to the answers. Now, unlike everyone else around this table here, I stood 3 times on a platform of not putting up our port or seaport shares or airport shares for sale. And Madam Chair, this is a critical part of this discussion going forward. I have no doubt about that at all. And it's going to be a part of the report, and I accept that. It's all over our media. And so I accept that that's where it's going to be, but I will not lead in that direction because, one, I've made a commitment to the community on that issue. And secondly, if you're talking about these types of assets, you've got to be talking about who's going to stand on the platform in election year and actually say they're going to sell them. Because, you know, I stood on a platform for 3 terms in a row, and I said I'm not. Now, 1 or 2 people said at the start of those various elections that they would, and man, they changed their minds fast. It was an amazing thing to observe. So, yes, we are having a full and frank discussion. But I need to tell you where I am as the Mayor and where I will not lead and where I've got a mandate not to lead. And when this report comes out, it'll show you the very good reasons why we shouldn't go there. But, man, oh man, I'm happy to look forward and await the outcome of that report and encourage you to support that outcome because it will help to inform our community. Please, support the outcome and enable us to have this discussion, wherever you'll finally end up on it. It's important for us going forward as a transparent council.
We'll support it if we don't know what it is.
2 final things. A couple of you talked about the need for us to continue to look at our existing costs. We just spent 18 months doing that. Really. Now, for some of us, we could use another 18 months. And look, I accept that. We'll always hold our costs under review. But that this is looking at another side of our ledger. And I think it's important that we do that for the sake of clarity and for the sake of being able to address all the issues that we need to with all the information. And finally, the last one, the government's the whipping boy. Look, whichever way you look at the government's funding, we get 1/3 of the tax, we pay 1/3 of the tax, we get 1/3 back. We pay 1/3 of the road user charges, we get 1/3 back. We get 1/3 of the spending in terms of transportation. Now come on, councillors, we can beat this horse so much. You know, we are in there, and I think the sign that we're now going to be sitting through a transport agreement and accord, which I think will help even further to address some of those issues of connectivity and synergy, will be an important part where it's 40% of our spending and a major part of their spending. So, by and large, I think we're heading in the right direction. But this is a discussion that we've been waiting to happen for a while, and I'm really looking forward to the outcomes. I know 1 or 2, Madam Chair, just to finalise, 1 or 2 you're a little bit worried about the fact the Mayor's office might have over much influence in this. At the end of the day, I'll lead out from the debate, and I will have as much influence as you all do. This is the assets of the community, and I'm really interested in what the outcome for some of our analysis will be. So let's just support it and get on.
Thank you. No, thank you. I think we've had enough talk. So just Councillor Wood.
Oh, okay.
No, you've asked questions and you've been in the debate. So can I actually also ask councillors to read the alternative funding paper that LGNZ put out? You don't have to read the Shan report. This is a very small report. It's very focused and it's very clear. Councillor Holst, would you like to close the debate?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just following on from the Mayor's points, which I think are well made, there's probably 3 key things, and I would like to touch on the issue of government. For those of us who were at the local government conference, we heard from both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Local Government, Paula Bennett,
and both of them made absolutely clear that for us to look at, as the local government sector, partnering with government for funding, we had to look at ourselves first. There is a perception by government that local government is bloated, inefficient and not working well. Now, we can perpetuate that myth if we want to, or we can be prepared to do the job that we've been elected to do as governors and do this piece of work. At a personal level, I think this is probably the most important piece of work that we're actually going to do, because finally we're going to wrangle our major assets. We're going to have a jolly good look at what we've got. And I think we could all do with a bit more understanding of what we're actually doing as a council with our major assets, and exactly as Councillor Darby pointed out so eloquently, the alternative sources.
Thank you.
Oh, we now have the mayor and deputy mayor.
Psychology?
Can we, Madam Chair,
We haven't said
I'm a little
anything
bit
about-
tired
Yes.
of those kind of cracks. When we
could
are
crack
doing
about
probably
China.
one of the most important pieces of work that we're setting out to do, I wish we could all step aside from the politics of this and actually look at
I
the
know.
work that we're trying to do.
No one makes a crack at me, do they? No. It's all me.
Councillor Brewer.
It is all about Councillor Brewer. Councillor Brewer, this is not about you for the moment. I'll carry on. So, if we just look at
Councillor
what
Wood.
government are asking of us, if they're going to partner with us exactly as the Mayor says, looking at our transport, our collaborative transport work, for instance, we need to be able to take a case to government and say, look, we've looked pretty deep and hard at all alternative funding sources. This is still the ask. So that's number one. Secondly, the Shand report, fantastic piece of work. Councillor Wood referenced it. The one thing in the Shand report it makes very clear is that councils don't borrow enough. So anyone might just like to kind of look at that. It makes it very clear that councils like Auckland, our debt levels are not high enough. So Councillor Wood, you might like to reread that bit. Thirdly, and just finally, it seems to me, Madam Chair, and you've put it very well, this is a complex issue that people have leapt to conclusions very, very quickly, and if our community and our media are confused, it's no wonder, because so are we. This is a process by which we are going to look at our assets, work out the best way to utilise them, and to work out then what we're going to do and make decisions out of that. This is not the sell or no sell debate today, and I hope that we're going to be responsible as we message this out to our community. We talk about our community getting worried and frightened of us selling libraries and pensioner housing. Well, it's only because we've mentioned it today. Some of us have absolutely, some of us have worked very, very hard to make sure that we keep them. If we have this report which shows us exactly how we can structure this, make it work and partner to keep these, then that will be the decision we make. So let's, for God's sake, not frighten the community by over-egging what this is going to be about. Yeah. So I'm very happy to have moved this. I think it's an excellent piece of work, and if we put the energy required into having a meaningful discussion about this and taking it as seriously as we should, and not simply the politics of this, I think we will come up with a very good result. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. I'm going to put it
By division.
by division.
Your Worship.
Aye.
Councillor Brewer.
For.
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore. For. Councillor Clow.
Aye.
Councillor Cooper. Councillor Darby.
For.
Councillor Filipaino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Hulse.
Aye.
Councillor Crum.
For.
Councillor Lee.
No.
Councillor Penrose.
For.
Councillor Stewart.
Or
Member Smith.
Aye.
Councillor Sir John Walker.
Aye.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Watson.
No.
Councillor Wood.
Yes.
Chair Webster.
Yes.
16-3.
16-3. Thank you very much, and I think it would be a very good idea if we take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Good answer.
I'll adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes. Maybe some people can take a deep breath.